Hey, what's up, y'all? This is Lewis Speaks 2024, and today I want to talk to you all about friendship. I'm a firm believer that we heal in relationship with other people. And when you have good friends, that can be a source of comfort and healing. To me, good friendship is the best medicine. And I feel like right now in this day and age, it's really difficult to try to find real good friends. Um, And I'm talking about those roots, not the leaves and branches, the people that just blow in and out of your life depending upon the season, but people who are solid. It's so difficult to find that. And as I mentioned earlier, good friends can be a source of healing and comfort. And I think what makes a good friendship, truth be told to me, one of the main ingredients is respect. And namely, respect for your boundaries. We all have boundaries. We all have things that we don't necessarily appreciate. And so we erect boundaries in order to keep us safe. And in some friendships, there comes a point where your friends may not necessarily understand your boundaries. And so they violate them, either intentionally or unintentionally. But what I'm referring to in this instance is the intentional violation of boundaries. Um, there are times when you tell a friend that something bothers you. I'll give you an example. I've told numerous friends that lateness, excessive lateness, is my pet peeve. That bothers me. And why does that bother me? That bothers me because of trauma. I had my father, he would oftentimes make promises to come and see me when I was younger, and he never made good on those promises. I would be waiting, and he never showed up, you know? And so it communicated to me a lack of care, a lack of concern. It was disrespectful. And in general, being late, to me, is disrespectful. You're not considering the other person's time and how valuable their time is. You want to show up, quote unquote, fashionably late. And while that makes you feel like a big shot or makes you feel good to have other people waiting on you, you're not considering the other person and how that makes them feel. So, long story short, I told my friends that this is my boundary. This is my, please don't cross that. You know, that's my pet peeve. And so recently, I had a person in my life who I wouldn't say that we were the best of friends. This was more like a burgeoning friendship, you know, something that I hoped would blossom. But this burgeoning friend showed up late. I'm talking about an hour late. And of course, after 15 minutes, they said that they would be there within like what? We had plans at 1, they said they would be there at 1:15. Then after that, there was no text until I decided to take matters into my own hands and text them to ask if they were okay. So it was the lack of consideration for me. Now, when I brought this to their attention, how they reacted, that right there, that's what solidified my decision to never speak with them again. Um, I asked him, I was like, for one, I didn't appreciate you being late. And I brought that directly. I mentioned that in past situations, they have been late before. I didn't speak on it because I was trying to offer grace, right? And we'll get back to grace because I have something to say about grace as well. But I informed them, I let them know how I felt. And they did nothing but deploy a host of accusations as to me being overly sensitive, me having this trauma history, and this is wrong, and this is why I'm behaving this way. And one thing about it is this: do not dismiss, do not minimize my emotions. That's the worst thing you could ever do. If someone ever does that to me, they are instantly removed from my life. All throughout my life, I've had people tell me I'm somehow misperceiving things. I've had people try to gaslight me and make me feel as though I was wrong for speaking up about really, really poor behavior. So if I speak to you about something that bothers me, if I speak to you about poor behavior and you basically try to gaslight me, you're done from the door. I don't put up with that. Thing about it is this, my boundaries are erected to keep me safe. And while you may not necessarily understand them, do not sit up there and try to minimize or try to mock or criticize my boundaries, because those are what's keeping me safe. Those are what's allowing me to love you and be present for you. I'm realizing that boundaries are an act of love, you know? It's keeping my heart safe so that way I can be present for those who I love. And when you disrespect my boundaries and when you criticize my boundaries and you feel as though they're being too rigid, too oppressive, too over the top, I have to separate from you, because those boundaries are keeping me safe. They are protecting me. And I realize that I can't expect anybody else out in this world to protect me. I gotta protect myself. And what protects me are my boundaries. And so when this person went, like I said, they completely just came out of a bag, I had to distance myself. You know, initially they tried to call, they called twice to try to talk with me. I did not pick up my phone because I didn't want to yell and scream. I knew that I was very annoyed. I was so annoyed, and my mouth is reckless. I know that about me. I know that if I were to pick up that phone, I would have cut them to shreds. You know, scriptures say there's life and death in the power of the tongue, and there's no truer words. There's no truer words. And so I knew that I could not pick up that phone and still maintain the friendship, because that was initially my plan. But the thing about it is this, when I finally spoke to this person and I saw how mentally ill they were and how they were so willing to just stop speaking with me when I brought up a very real concern, they were so quick to jump to a friendship breakup as opposed to understanding where I was coming from. You know? They think that I was being over emotional, irrational, and that's not the case. That's not the case. So long story short, I had to terminate that friendship immediately, because I will not have anybody undermine my boundaries, undermine anything that keeps me safe. And trust me, I do my work. I do my work. And I don't think it's too much to expect your friends to show up on time. And of course, things happen. But please do me a favor. Do not continue to make it a habit. Because oftentimes that's what friendships do. They want you to extend grace and mercy. And this is where I get into grace. There's nothing wrong with giving people grace and offering that grace period. But my question is this: at what point does grace become enabling poor behaviors? Please explain that to me. And if someone can answer that in the comments, I'd be eternally grateful. At what point does grace become you enabling dysfunctional, poor behaviors? I'm all for mercy, but like I said, even with God, there's a limit to his mercy. There's going to come a point where he's just going to have to destroy this world and this corrupt system of things. Right now, mercy is used in order to call you in, right? Mercy is not a get out of jail free card. Mercy is not excessive permissiveness. Mercy is not a permission slip for you to continue to behave irresponsibly. You've got to know that. That's not the purpose of mercy. Mercy is to call you in, to have you reflect on dysfunctional, poor behavior, and for you to change it. It's an invitation to change. Grace is an invitation to change. But these people, they abuse grace. There are some friendships that try to abuse grace, and this is what I have a problem with. They know that you are generous, they know that you're kind, that you're understanding, and so they're going to exploit that. They're not going to show up on time. They're going to basically just be late in every encounter. And that's not acceptable. That's unacceptable. You need to value your friends the same way that you value a job interview. Are you going to show up late on a job interview? Of course not, because you want that money. You want that money, so you're going to show up. Why aren't you treating your friendships like that? I think people get too familiar, and that's when they begin to coast. It's kind of like a marriage. After a while, you don't do the same things that you once did to get the person. You know? The same things that you did to get the person are the same things that you need to do to keep the person. Right? And with friendship, they're so cavalier. A lot of people are just cavalier, casual, oh, that's just a friend. But the thing about it is this. You still need to respect that friend. You still need to put in that work. You can't just sit up here and think that you can get by off of old behaviors or familiarity. People lean too much into familiarity, and that's when they get lazy. And that's when they stop respecting their friends. And this is why I'm saying one of the main ingredients of a long-lasting friendship is respect. You have got to respect your friends. Respect their time, respect their energy, respect their resources, respect the changes that they go through. We're going to change. That's life. Life requires us to change. That's just a given. That is one of the non-negotiables of life. You will change. Either mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, you're going to change. And so you do offer that grace, right? But that grace, as I mentioned before, is simply an invitation for you to reflect on the behavior that could be jeopardizing the friendship and make the necessary changes. And if you choose not to make those changes, well, then you choose, in effect, not to have a friend in your life. That's just how it is. So, my thing is this. Good friendship respects boundaries. Good friendship does not expect people to tolerate poor behaviors. In good friendship, you can resolve a conflict without saying, bye, then I won't deal with you anymore. Anytime somebody brings up something difficult. See, me, the sign of a good friendship is me being comfortable enough to have difficult conversations with my friends. If I can have a difficult conversation with you about how your behavior is affecting me, if you want to silence that, and it bothers you when I have to confront you on that behavior, then we're not going to make it. We're not going to be friends because, let's face it, we're imperfect human beings. We make mistakes. That's reality. We make mistakes. But we have to be willing to own up to those mistakes, take accountability for those mistakes, and make the necessary changes. Now, if you want to continue to say, okay, well, this is me. This is me. I'm going to do me. And if you don't like it, well, then bye. Okay, well, then deuces. Because no one should tolerate poor behavior from someone. Nobody should. And if you're in a friendship right now and you feel as though you are tolerating poor behavior, there's some things you need to do. For one, you need to confront the person. See how they respond. Pay attention to how they respond. Do they value the friendship enough to actually take a moment of pause and say, oh, okay, I didn't know you were feeling this way. I'm glad that you told me this. So that way we can have a discussion about this. Let's see what we can do to actually address this. That's a loving friendship. There are some friends, they will accuse you of being too harsh, full of malice, harboring ill will towards them whenever you're direct. And that's not true. I think many times people want you to wear and put on kid gloves, these velvet gloves to handle their feelings. And like I said, consideration has its place. You definitely want to consider how someone feels. But at the same time, if you constantly feel as though you have to walk on eggshells around these people, you got to watch what you say, watch what you do. It feels like an emotional landmine whenever you are connecting with them. then you might have to reevaluate the closeness of that friendship. Because you may love somebody, but sometimes you have to, and this is what I'm learning in 2024. I am learning that sometimes you have to love people from a distance. You love them, you want the best for them, but at the same time, who they are is not what's best for you. And sometimes you have to learn how to love people from a distance. So if you find like in certain friendships, you are walking on eggshells because this person becomes explosive whenever you mention something difficult, well, then you realize, okay, this is a friendship that I might have to spend less time with. You either go no contact or low contact. That's the thing. I'm going to have to go low contact with these people because they just don't handle my feelings the way I need them to, in a way that basically not only dignifies the friendship, but also helps to regulate my nervous system. Sometimes these friendships do nothing but they just trigger you. They trigger you and they cause your nervous system to become dysregulated. And so pay attention to your body. They have a science called biofeedback. And biofeedback encourages you to pay attention to where the stress lies in your body, whether it's in here, whether it's in here, whether it's in here, whether it's in your stomach. Pay attention to where the stress goes when you're dealing with certain personality types, or even if there's a reaction, because sometimes a person you could be allergic to a person. And I didn't even know that. You could be allergic to their energy. Their energetic field is toxic. And so you're allergic. You can have a bad reaction to that. So you have to pay attention to how you're reacting to certain people. Me personally, I pay attention to what they bring out of me. Like what is when I'm with this person, what do I notice about me? Do I want to give more? Do they make me want to give more? Do they make me want to withdraw? Do they make me want to become guarded? Do they make me suspicious? Do they make me give them a side eye? What does this person's energy bring out of me? And that's how you also know whether or not you have a good friend. Does this person make me want to give more? Do they make me want to love more? Do they make me want to embrace life more? Or do they cause me to recluse back into my shell? And like I said earlier, trying to find a decent friend these days is like trying to find a needle in a haystack. It's rough because a lot of people out here, they're only in friendships for what they can get as opposed to what they can give. And so that's what makes it really challenging. So if you have a great friend, if your friend helps to regulate your nervous system, they quiet your nervous system, you feel safe, you feel comfortable having that carefrontation, and I call it carefrontation because you care, but you also want to confront. You don't want to sit up there and seethe and brood in your private thoughts, You want to be able to have that conversation. So if you can have that conversation with your friends, you are in a good spot. You definitely have a great friendship. And once again, a great friendship requires maintenance. You have got to be committed to maintaining. Don't just expect to coast off the memories. Oh, well, we had a good time 20 years ago, so I'm going to keep on letting that memory carry us through the years. No. Don't expect those beautiful memories to carry you through the years because like Janet Jackson says, what have you done for me lately? That's important. What have you done for me lately? So once again, I encourage y'all to really, really just begin to assess your friendships, and realize that friendships, good friendships, are the best medicine. It's like a healing balm to a tired soul, Good friendships can be the parents that you never had. Good friendships could be the love that you never had but always wanted. A good friendship can heal, And while it's not necessarily their job to parent you, right? Their love could be the answer to what you've been missing. So keep that in mind. Respect your friends' boundaries. Honor those boundaries. And don't just say that, yes, I can tolerate constructive feedback, but when it's given to you, all of a sudden you become defensive. That's not okay. We got to start working on our relationships because, let's be honest, the truth is, they may very well be the only thing that get us over in this life. They call it friendship for a reason. A ship, what does a ship do? A ship takes you from one place to another safely. A ship carries you. Do your friendships, do they carry you? And not in a bad way where they're doing everything, but do they transport you to a different level of understanding and growth? Do they? Do they help you evolve? Do they help you travel to a new level of insight and understanding? If they're not doing that, peace. You gotta say peace. So I hope this video was helpful, y'all. Thank you so much for listening. Peace, y'all.